Today, we get more layoffs announced from TD. The Canada Post strike is about to start, and there's no solution to Donald Trump's tariffs yet. For a crisis of a lifetime, this doesn't seem like a great time to take a 100-day vacation. Let's talk about it. Let's go.
Welcome to Bakes on Things.
Welcome back to Bakes on Things. Please like, subscribe, and comment. It helps the channel grow. And you don't get to call something the crisis of a lifetime and then decide to take the entire summer off. But that's exactly what Mark Carney and the Liberals are doing. Parliament, which hasn't sat properly since last fall and will only sit briefly in the next few weeks, will then recess for nearly 100 days. Not a break, not a breather, a full-blown disappearance while the world races ahead. Let's get this straight. The man who said Donald Trump's tariffs are a once-in-a-generation economic emergency is now ghosting this country for a 3-month hiatus. What kind of leadership is this? Who voted for this? It's hypocrisy wrapped in taxpayer-funded sunscreen. See, during the campaign, Mark Carney, as you'll remember, said, and I quote, "Our relationship as we know it with the United States is over."
The old relationship we had with the United States, based on deepening integration of our economies and tight security and military cooperations, is over.
Deploy next-generation technologies across the land, sea, and space, including space-based sensors and interceptors. And Canada has called us, and they want to be a part of it. So we'll be talking to them. They want to have protection also. So, as usual, we help Canada do the best we can.
His campaign hammered Trump as the biggest threat of a lifetime, a bully, a looming trade disaster. But fast forward to today, and Carney sits quietly beside Trump, asks to be included recently in Trump's missile defense program, and after that meeting, booked it back to Ottawa to announce a summer recess. Nice. You can't have it both ways, Mark. Either it's a crisis or it's cottage season. So which is it? I mean, this is getting out of hand. The lack of competence within this Liberal government showed for an entire decade and is now showing even more since taking office after April 28th. Here's what could and likely will happen during this 100-day parliamentary shutdown while our government is out golfing. The housing crisis will deepen, interest rates will rise, and with no parliament, no one is even tabling solutions, not even sea cans. Young families are stuck renting forever, and developers are still paralyzed under red tape. Crime and addiction skyrocket, but I guess it's business as usual for criminals and drug dealers with no one around to pass any policy. The Bay, well, that's already closed. Canada Post workers will be on strike, and TD and auto sector layoffs continue to multiply. And there's no economic response team in sight because they're on yachts. EV companies that took massive government handouts are now stalling production. Where's that accountability? Why are we not going after them for that money back? Honda. Border towns suffer as Canada U.S. tourism continues to struggle. The summer could have been a lifeline for these towns, but apparently Mark Carney doesn't have time to fix the border towns while he's cozying up to Donald Trump for a defense deal. Grocery prices are already rising again. Companies are already threatening more increases. We talked about it earlier this week with Loblaw companies and others. Carney's response? Enjoy your $30 watermelon. He's got a tea time to make. While other nations are working around the clock to fix their problems, Canada is quite literally out of office. They've gone fishing. France? Nope, they're in. Germany? No, they're in too. The UK? Year-round. Even the US Congress calls emergency sessions in the summer when needed. But in the Great White North, in Canada, we shut the doors, we turn off the lights, and we walk away like the country's on autopilot. Because, hey, if we can just flick the switch and spend the money, why not? And that's a whole other point here. The shadow budget. Where is all this money coming from? The Liberals spent $70 billion during the election campaign in Canadian funds. This is the most alarming part. While Parliament has been prorogued, the Liberals have still been spending like water. How? Through a shadow budget quietly rubber-stamped by the Governor-General. Billions in funding flowing without parliamentary debate whatsoever. So let's ask this question. Is that even legal? See, under Canadian law, Parliament holds the power of the purse. The Governor-General can only approve emergency or non-controversial supply bills during prorogation, not green light entire spending frameworks for a government that refuses to show up. Where is the oversight in this country? What has happened here? Where is the opposition? Because they aren't even allowed to talk while not in Parliament. Where's the outrage? Well, we're all bringing it to YouTube and others. The Conservatives are bringing it to YouTube and TikTok and social media, but the mainstream media continues to ignore it, continues to think everything's just okay. But Mark Carney has spent more time in Italy visiting the Pope and attending church and DC than actually in Parliament since the election. He met with the Pope. He met briefly with Donald Trump, who's supposed to be a giant threat. He hasn't met with the Canadian people once. He promised to reset our place in the world. Instead, he's posing internationally while presiding over the most directionless administration in modern history. No budget, no emergency plan, no legislative agenda, just vibes, speeches, and symbolic meetings. Oh, and he yells at the odd female reporter still, too. Meanwhile, Canadians are drowning in inflation, housing debt, and complete disillusionment. This isn't time off. This isn't the time for government vacation. Pierre Poilievre said in the campaign he would cancel this vacation to deal with some of these Canadian issues.
For the politicians is your summer vacation is canceled. We are going to keep Parliament open all summer long to pass 3 laws to bring change. 1, the Affordability for a Change Act. 2, the Safe Streets for a Change Act. And 3, the Bring Home Our Jobs for a Change Act. And until these laws are passed, Parliament will not shut down for summer vacation. We need change. Change can't wait, but the politicians' vacations will have to wait.
A 100-day recess during what you yourself called the crisis of a lifetime, Mark, isn't time off. It's dereliction of duty. If you can't even show up when you claim the house is on fire, then you shouldn't have been handed the hose in the first place. That's simple reality. Because even Liberals have to admit that Canadians didn't vote for a caretaker prime minister who will keep the status quo. Canadians didn't vote for ceremonial distractions. Canadians voted for someone to lead. And we got someone who's more concerned with image, optics, than outcomes. So if Parliament won't sit, maybe it's time Canadians stand. The way to do that is to share this video, to speak up and to demand answers. Write to your MPs, because democracy doesn't take the summer off, and neither should the people we elect to defend it when we are supposedly in the crisis of a lifetime. Thanks for watching Bakes on Things. I'm Chris Baker. Please like, subscribe, and comment. Every time you comment, every time you like something, you help the algorithm, you help promote messages like this, and you help promote independent creators trying to get these messages out. Not just me, but anyone you're watching. And also, I love responding to the comments. I love to hear what you actually have to say. So thanks for watching. I'm Chris Baker for Bakes on Things. We'll catch you next time.